I've been feeling a little bit anxious, a little bit restless for the past few days, and we'll get to why on the rest of the video. But I've also noticed that when I can't get my mind to calm down, it's usually really good for me to put my attention on someone else instead of myself. That's why today I'm making art for strangers to find. And at first, I thought I would do the same thing I did a while ago and paint some rocks and leave them on a trail. But because Ohuhu sent me these wonderful new refillable acrylic markers, I thought I would try them on a new surface. And I just saw Sarah Nate Clark paint some beautiful, bright, colorful cassette tapes. And I have a bunch. So I thought, why not? Wouldn't it be beautiful to go out on a walk and find this bright, artsy cassette tape? So that's what we're doing today. Let's grab a tape and get creative. Let me start by showing you the markers we'll be using today. Yeah, I opened them as soon as they arrived. I was curious, but we're going to use them for the first time together. This 36-piece set has a beautiful range of colors, and the amazing thing about the markers is that you can buy these little bottles to refill them. So if you run out of your favorite color, you don't need to get a whole new set. You can just refill the color you use most. You can get the inks for your favorites, which for me works perfectly because I always use a couple of markers much more than the other ones. So let's bring in our first tape. I tried to take the label off, but it peeled horribly, leaving so much gunk behind. So I decided instead of struggling, I would look for another tape, one that either had no labels or that they were easy to peel off. So this one was perfect, and it was time to paint. I forget every single time that I need to activate markers super gently here in the altitude, or they'll explode with a little bit of ink coming out. So this one, of course, exploded because I was too eager pushing it down. Luckily, in this case, it was okay because all of the ink was on top of the tape, so I just moved it a little bit around to cover the cassette. If you're gentler, this won't happen, but it always happens to me because I always forget and I just press down aggressively. So I painted that first tape with blue, and while it dried, I picked up another one and I tried to remove the label. Again, it was very frustrating, so I just grabbed another tape and I decided that on this one, I wasn't going to remove the label at all, but just paint on top to see if this would affect it. And of course, once again, I pushed down on the pen a little bit too hard and oops. But well, we know by now, no worries. I just used the ink or the paint actually that came out and moved it around to cover the entire tape. So now I had two cassettes, a blue and a white one, and I grabbed a third one to also paint it entirely with white. I don't know why, but that made sense in my head at the moment. Then I was going to paint the back of the second white tape, and the marker started to feel a little bit drier. It wasn't completely empty, but I thought it was a great opportunity to try the refill feature. So I brought out the white ink. It comes with little instructions that are pretty straightforward and easy to follow. And thankfully, I followed the instructions and had a piece of scrap paper underneath because I clearly lack the finesse to handle markers gently. So all you have to do is grab your bottle, uncap it, and on the first use, you have to remove the inner lid. Then you put the cap back, give it a little shake, and you can hear how it has something inside, just like the markers, to keep the ink fresh. Then you remove the outer cap, remove the cap from the back of the marker, and then you just refill. I think here I pressed a little too hard again because it wasn't necessary for me to press that hard and I spilled just a tad. But you can see the marker filling up, and I thought that was so awesome and satisfying. I was so happy. I use white a lot, so the fact that I can have a marker now that I can just refill is amazing. And look at how much ink I still have left to keep refilling it. It looks like I'm going to use this marker so much. It's perfect. So I just went back with my now full marker and finished painting the tape. I let that one dry and reached for a fourth tape. And with this one, I was also going to paint it entirely white, but then I thought I'll just do the indented part with white, and for the rest, I'll use green. I honestly didn't make a plan coming in to paint these, and I think it will show on this video. Initially, I thought about painting 5 cassette tapes, but then I found this floppy disk in the bag where I was keeping all of the cassette tapes, and I thought it would be kind of cool to paint this too. I thought it best to remove the metal part before painting it, but you're gonna see me regret that later. Of course, for this one, I wanted to remove the label too, and I started to try to peel it, finding it to be difficult again, and then it hit me. I should have used the heat gun on all of the labels to melt the glue from them and peel them off easily. Ugh, I wish I thought of that earlier, but I didn't, so it was only for the floppy disk, and of course, it worked perfectly. On this one, I wanted to use pink. By then, I figured out it wasn't necessary for me to have a white background on everything, so I just switched to pink. And while I do that, let me explain why I have so many tapes at home. A few years back, I started using them for paintings and I made some pieces with them. I guess you could have called these collages. So I gathered every single tape that I could find from my immediate family, and now I have a whole bunch. Now, all of my tapes had a base of color, and I still had no clue on what to do with them. So I reached for the first white one, and I thought about two things that usually rescue me when I have no idea on what to do. And that is using a monochromatic palette and hearts. As soon as I started painting it, of course, I thought it looked way too close to a Valentine's Day card, but I carried on, finishing painting all of the lines across it, and then I added some hearts on top of different sizes with a slightly different shade of red. This was looking too crowded and weird. I mean, it's hard for me to share how much I disliked it as I do a voiceover, because when I edit, things don't look as bad as they do when I'm making them, if that makes sense. But I didn't like it then. I was trying to fix the hearts by using another color on top, and it was looking and feeling off. I was also working with my dog on my lap, which makes it more difficult, but I couldn't put him down. He was so afraid because it was raining. He was trembling, and yeah, I have no excuse. I have very spoiled pets. I was getting frustrated, so I thought, okay, let me stop here and come up with a different idea. So I turned the tape around and I drew a large heart in the middle, which I again did not like at all. I should have had a plan, but I didn't. So I just covered it with white paint entirely, left the house, and came back to work on the green tape. I fixed some tiny mistakes from the base painting, and while that dried, I grabbed the second white cassette because I thought I had an idea, finally, and I wanted to do one side themed like the sun and the other side themed like the moon. So I started painting a circle with the yellow markers, and because it was the first time activating them, I also had a little spillage which I used and which helped me blend both colors. Then I proceeded to paint the background with baby blue for the sky, and as I work on this side of the tape, let me explain why I was feeling off and why it's been a hectic week. And I did not create this project in one sitting, but in many tiny little creative sessions. So I rent my house, and the owner of the house I rent was living overseas, and now they're coming back to the country. So I have about a month and a half to find a new home for us, and it's been crazy. I've been seeing a bunch of houses and driving around a lot, so I really haven't been able to be home for a long creative session. It's been stressful, I can't lie. And because of that, I think this became a little bit more difficult, and also because I didn't plan anything and I was just following my creative impulse. And normally I would edit a video like this one where I have 5 projects in a way that you would see the beginning and the end of each painting all together so you could follow a straight process. Even though a lot of times that's not the way I work. But today I decided I would show you the back and forth and every clip as I filmed it without changing the order of events, just so you get a little bit of the feel of how imperfect this process was for me, and so that you don't think that everything just always flows for me. I struggled a bit with something that is actually super simple, and I wanted to share that because I don't think it's fair that we see stuff on social media and believe everything just flows perfectly all the time for everyone. So, yeah, time to jump around again, and I grabbed the green cassette now, and I finally had an idea for this one too. I wanted to make it very 90s, so I thought maybe I should do Lisa Frank again. I did it for a coloring page and I loved the result. So I started by adding colorful dots all around the green area, and then when those dried, I used a black marker to go around them with half circles, creating a cheetah pattern. This was actually the first thing I painted on these tapes that I liked, so in this moment, and this was on the second day, mind you, I finally felt I was moving forward somehow. Then I thought it would be a nice idea to have a rainbow in the middle of the white area. I start with the color in the middle first. So then I'm able to leave enough space for all of the other colors. After the green line, which I can now tell was crooked, oh my god, I didn't notice that before, I started adding the other colors on either side, allowing them to dry a little bit as I put them down. I did also use my heat gun to dry the colors a little bit faster as I went so that this wouldn't take forever and an extra day. I finished the rainbow and I was really happy with that. It improved my mood immediately. And it looked finished to me, so I just added a small black heart to the side, which I polished a little bit by moving the paint around with a teeny tiny little brush. And I am gonna add some words to all of these cassette tapes, but I thought I would leave all of that to the end, so let's move on to the next one. We're jumping back to the blue cassette tape. I started to doodle on top with my white marker and it wasn't working. I was drawing a blank on what to draw. I was drawing different line weights, different things. It was looking very random and I just didn't like it. I thought I would start over on the other side, so I flipped my tape and started doodling again. And actually, this Pac-Man doodle is the only thing I drew that I really liked, but altogether, it was still not working for me at all. So I thought, okay, let me just paint over it again. I reached for a purple, which I activated too aggressively again, so I decided maybe I could use the spillage to my advantage and create a galaxy effect. I still didn't have a solid idea for this one, but this marbled background was a good start, or that's what I thought. So I finished covering it and went back to the sun and moon tape. Now, I'm going to be super honest with you. I was going to completely discard this tape from the video. I wasn't going to finish it. I wasn't going to show it at all, not even the beginning. But I had it on my desk and my daughter said it was her favorite. I was like, really? So I thought I'd honor her artistic sense because she did paint this self portrait after all. She's very talented, and see if I could finish it. So I'm painting the back, and I chose purple for the background of the moon side, and then black around that, just like the front. Then I jumped back to the hearts and stripes cassette tape. I covered everything that I didn't like, and now it was dry, and I decided to give the stripes another shot. I'm stubborn and I still want to do hearts, so I drew them again, but this time I kept them all the same size and I just had them facing in different directions. Once those were done and dry, I drew a second set of hearts on top. This time there were just outlines and I used a dark purple so it doesn't look that much like a Valentine's Day card and it's not monochromatic anymore. Then I painted the long rectangle where you would write with a lighter purple. And finally, I added a few dots here and there with the turquoise just to add a little bit more of color. Okay, so that's my second tape finish and I was feeling a lot better. Things were starting to work. So back to the galaxy tape, I guess I could call it. I didn't have any other ideas, but I felt that what worked on the previous tapes was adding pattern. So I thought I should add it here too. I was a little stuck with no fresh ideas, so I looked at all of these patterns that I've drawn. And if you follow my Instagram account closely, you may know that I've been creating all of these patterns because I'm working on a new coloring book. And all of those were pages for that book, which is almost done, so it's very exciting. Well, looking at all of those patterns gave me the obvious answer of drawing some irregular stars on top of this tape. The pattern I chose is very similar to one of the pages I created, and I thought it was fitting, so I drew a bunch of stars with different shades of yellow. These are easy to draw and really gave the cassette a punch. Once the stars were dry, I created an offset outline for each with white, and then I finally added dots with purple. Honestly, the result wasn't at all what I envisioned coming into this project. It's busier than what I was going for at the beginning, but I still like it. I like it a lot. So, yay, 3 tapes done now, and it was back to the sun and moon tape. Time to add the moon, and just like on the sun side, I wanted the colors to blend a bit. Using 2 shades of gray, I created a textured moon. And then I used white on top of this circle to highlight a crescent moon, which is one of my favorite symbols. And I was gonna draw some stars, and I started doing that, but that wasn't working for me. So I quickly changed that to some stripes. Again, going back to pattern, covering the stars and using more colors. Same thing on the other side, created a pattern with blues to match the moon side. Once both sides were finished, I just did a little bit of touch ups here and there and added a few lines to create sun rays around the sun. Now it was finally time to get back to the floppy disk. I decided I wanted to do a rainbow again. It felt retro and appropriate. So again, I'm starting by drawing the middle stripe with green and then just working around it by adding the rest of the colors to each side to complete the rainbow. While the colors dried, I thought the background for this one should have pattern too, because pattern was the winning idea. So I added a flowery pattern to the front and back of the disc. Then I tried to put the metal thing back on it, and it was a struggle. I think I broke it. I honestly don't remember how these worked. So I had to pull back a tab to put it on again, and I think I pulled too hard, so it's not laying flat anymore. I managed to put it on though, but it's looking a little bit wonky, to be honest. But hey, at the same time, I do think this is a cool little thing to find painted somewhere, right? So I finished the pattern in the back and I'm happy with it. Okay, time to add some beautiful words to all of these, because I like to think that people can find these in the wild and the tiny art will bring a smile to their faces, but also that maybe they find some words on them and these are words they've been needing to receive. So I'm writing these in Spanish because I'm leaving them around the trail that is close to my home and I live in Ecuador, and I want anybody who gets these to be able to get the message. On the first one, I wrote, "Y si todo sale bien," which means, what if everything goes right? And on the back, I wrote, "Confía," which translates to trust. Then for the hearts one, on the front, I wrote, "Do what you feel, haz lo que sientas." And on the other side, I wrote, "We are not here forever. No estamos aquí para siempre." Then for the star tape, I only wrote on one side and it says, "Todo tendrá sentido algún día," which means everything will make sense someday. And on this one, I wrote día a día, day by day on the side of the sun, and then step by step, paso a paso on the side of the moon. Finally, for the floppy disk, oh, okay, puppy time. Yeah. She likes to get in the frame when she's had enough of me crafting. So let me move the camera and finally write, "Life starts many times over," which in Spanish means "La vida empieza muchas veces." And that's it. I did want to work on the cases too, but the cases were completely scratched and did not look pretty. So I'm just going to put them in there to protect them. I'm not going to paint the cases, but I thought I would write a message on them so people will know to take these. I'm basically writing, "If you find me, I'm yours, take me," in Spanish, of course. And also this time I added my socials, like the handle for my socials. So maybe whoever finds them will tag me and maybe we can share a picture. So here they are in their little boxes. I need to figure out something for the disc still, but here's the finished product and I think it's a cute bunch. It was worth the frustration because now I can't wait to go out and drop these. I wanted to do it before posting this video like last time, but it's been raining nonstop. I've been having crazy days, so I'll drop them depending on the weather. I'll definitely share on my Instagram stories, so you can check those out to see where I leave them, and hopefully we'll get confirmation from the people who find them. And that's it from me today. I hope you enjoyed this video and that I'll see you next week with a new one. Have the most wonderful day. Bye!